Welcome back, everybody. So last week we covered Jill Valentine being in Resident Evil and how she can kind of be tied back in. But today we found another article from 2 days ago just explaining some characters that they could bring back to Resident Evil 9 when that comes out that would make a lot of sense. And so we wanted to cover that today for you guys. We'll dive into the article. If you guys do enjoy the video, please just be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It does help the channel grow, and we've been seeing significant growth recently, so that's been awesome, and I appreciate y'all's support. Be on the lookout for the giveaway. Details are in the description, and without further ado, let's just get into this article. So the article's from GamerRant.com. It says Resident Evil 9's protagonist should be one of the classic characters. Resident Evil 9 may happen at some point soon, but it should bring back veteran Resident Evil characters to conclude Winters' storyline. Capcom's iconic survival horror franchise made a swift comeback with 2017 Resident Evil 7. After 2021's Resident Evil Village, the franchise is seemingly more successful than ever. Both Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil Village felt more like a needed evolution of the 25-year-old series, and fans are excited to see where Resident Evil 9 takes things. Resident Evil 7 took the franchise back to the survival horror roots with many parallels to the original Resident Evil. Resident Evil Village retained some of the new ideas introduced in Resident Evil 7, also while taking more risks with its storytelling, characters, and setting, and using parallels to the cult classic Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 9 will reportedly serve as a concluding chapter to the story that started in Resident Evil 7, but given how Ethan's return seems less feasible this time around, it could be time to bring back some of the classic characters to tie up loose ends and connect the Winters storyline to the broader Resident Evil universe. Over the course of 25 years, Resident Evil has introduced a multitude of protagonists with unique personalities that set them apart from one another, from college students to rookie cops and from government agents to spies. Every Resident Evil protagonist has different flair as well as distinct and commitment fandom. However, Capcom hasn't done any justice to some of its classic characters who have yet to receive closure. Jill Valentine has been notably missing since the Resident Evil events of Resident Evil 5, and aside from a brief mention in Resident Evil Revelations 2, there hasn't been any concrete info on her whereabouts. A new rumor from a notable Resident Evil leaker, Dusk Golem, suggests that Jill Valentine may have a huge role in Resident Evil 9, which by the story's perspective doesn't seem too far-fetched given her connections to Chris Redfield. The cheeky Jake Muller, son of enigmatic Albert Wesker, was first introduced in Resident Evil 6, whose connections granted him antibodies necessary to make the vaccine for the C virus. No one knows what happened to Jake Muller after Resident Evil 6, though the game's ending did leave some room for return. Jake has ties to Eastern Europe, where Resident Evil Village also takes place. Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil Village try to modernize the Resident Evil formula while also pertaining parts to the classic games. The next logical step would be to bring back a fan-favorite protagonist whose role in the Winter storyline is a much-needed piece of the puzzle. Resident Evil Village may be one of the most confident entries in the series, but Chris's stereotypical role, in addition to the lack of the familiar faces, leaves an inexplicable void that Capcom should fill. Resident Evil 9 may retain the first-person perspective from the past two Resident Evil games, so playing as a classic Resident Evil character may feel odd at first. However, someone like Jake Muller would open new possibilities for how Capcom approaches traversal and melee combat. Jake's agile nature and expertise in melee combat could provide a very different first-person Resident Evil experience compared to the past two games, something that may resemble Dying Light. Sequel still be years away at this point, with the rumored Resident Evil Outrage allegedly the next in line. According to the rumors, Resident Evil Outrage's development started as Resident Evil Revelations 3 and will feature Rebecca Chambers as the protagonist. Whether it's true or not remains to be seen, though if true, this could be an indication of the direction of Capcom is planning to head with Resident Evil 9. And it just says Resident Evil 9 is rumored to be in development. So those were three characters they were kind of saying that have ties to what's going on within the Ethan Winters Trilogy, between Jill Valentine having ties to Chris Redfield from Resident Evil 5 and really hasn't had her own spotlight yet since then. And then when we did the possible storyline thing, we were talking about one of the hitting groups that was mentioned that could have ties to Albert Wesker, which then would kind of, if that was the case, could tie in the Jake Muller stuff, him being the son of Albert Wesker, right? It sounds like. And so there's just multiple ways Resident Evil 9 can kind of take this direction and close out the Winters storyline, or how they're going to even bring Ethan Winters back, like we saw at the end of Resident Evil 8 when, and it's not obviously confirmed, but if you zoom in, it's his body walking down the street in the cemetery. So there's plenty of directions Resident Evil 9 can take this. It's just, now what do they do with it? How do they build off their DLC they're supposed to be releasing in December? I think it's going to get pushed back probably because we haven't heard too much about it. But, you know, how do they kind of, maybe if the DLC is going to bridge the gap between 8 and 9, how are they going to do that? I think these three main characters could have very good ties, especially even just playing a whole game as a side of Chris Redfield or something. I don't know. But we're just going to keep speculating on Resident Evil 9. We loved Resident Evil Village on the channel, so we'll keep covering it for you guys. Let me know what you guys think down below, if there's a certain protagonist you'd like to see in the game and kind of what your theory is on that. We can just have a discussion about it. If you guys did enjoy this video, as always, be sure to smash the thumbs up button. Consider subscribing if you guys are new to the channel, and turn on that notification bell so you guys never miss uploads. And as always, my name's Ross, and I will see you guys in the next video.